Hello, welcome to the new week of our course. Out of the last lesson of last week, we looked at the first part of digital forensics, and we looked at cloning and evidence retrieval and the steps that are essentially taken to retrieving the digital evidence and also cloning the digital evidence. So let's propose in my desktop I've got some evidence. I've got some case. And the backstory of the case that I'm going to be working with now is this is the case of a camera, a Canon camera, and this camera was stolen. And there are some deleted files inside this camera that I need to retrieve. You may realize that here we've got about 6 files of some sort. So I've got 6 files. So the idea is the camera was taken and then it was plugged in using a right lock, of course. Just putting it out there that the right steps were actually followed using a right lock, and then it was cloned using ncase. You'll actually realize when we look at the file format, it is an E01. For those who are quite unfamiliar with those, a simple Google search can actually tell you what this is all about. If you just search .e01 file extension, it will tell you what the E01 file extension is. And this is an ncase image file. Remember, when we clone this image file, this camera, we're going to get those E01 files. However, the camera is huge, which is why ncase decided, no, we're going to instead split this file into these 5 or per se 6 files. So it cloned the file into 6 pieces. So if we actually need to mount this file or mount this drive per se, we need to literally join all these files and then mount them together. That sounds like a lot of work. However, our dear friend Autopsy can actually take care of business for us. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use ncase to perform some forensic analysis on this drive. Basically, this all represents one drive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount all this, and then I'm going to begin analyzing. And my job in this case is to retrieve all the pictures that are deleted inside that drive. So what I'm going to propose I do now is open my terminal, and then I'm going to sudo autopsy. I'm going to sudo autopsy, and then I'm going to propose, I need to write down my password. So like so. Okay, and of course I'm going to give you a copy of these files for you to test out as well. Okay, so you can notice now after running sudo autopsy, it gives me the browser, which is what I need, and the evidence locker is located here, which you're going to check out towards the end of this lesson. And then I'm given a link there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this link and open my Firefox web browser. And then I want to now open a new case. Okay. So first things first, I need to give this case a name. So this is the name of this investigation. It can only contain letters, numbers, and symbols. I'm not allowed to have spaces whatsoever. So let's call this the missing camera pictures. Call this the missing camera pictures. And the description, although it is optional, it's just to point out what on earth this case is all about. Retrieve deleted images from a Canon camera, like so. And then the names of the investigator, I'm just gonna plot my name there. I'm one of the investigators. Then I'm gonna go ahead and click and say that's a new case. You'll notice there's now a case directory, there's a configuration file. We'll hardly work with these things anyways. Okay, now we must create a host for this case. Okay, a host is like a computer that I found on the scene, and in this case, the one of the computers or one of the devices that I found was I found a Canon camera. So this is one of the evidence that I have, and then some of these other pieces, they are not as important, but as you can see, they are optional. For instance, here the description, you just have to put a one-line description and say a camera found on the scene, like so. And then there is the optional time zone. This is just a time zone, depending on the location where this piece of evidence was found. And then there's a couple of these other stuff that you can also give, the hashes and so on and so forth. However, the hash is going to be only important in the case where we are performing the cloning using Autopsy. However, we're just gonna propose that the clone was actually done using Guy Major. We'll propose that it was done with Guy Major. If you guys recall from last week, Guy Major was the tool that I advised we actually use to create our digital evidence. So this was Guy Major. For those who recall, you're going to select the device that you would like to clone, like so, and then click and then acquire an image. And then once you're done, we leave this on expert eyewitness. Okay, just so that it performs them with a split. You can see that it says EXX because that's the E01, E02 file extension that it has. And then you can give the case numbers, evidence number, examiners, and so on and so forth. Okay, this is just a revision from last week. But most of these entities are just optional. So I'm gonna add the host now. And then now I've added the host, I've created the camera as one of the pieces of evidence. Now I can add the image for this piece of evidence. So as you can see, I can now go to add the image file, and then here you can see they want me to enter the full path of where the image file is. And then in the case where the image file is split, for instance, if ncase was used, then I have to use star for the file extension. So I'm gonna do that here. So this is the file. It's located at this file extension. Of course, I don't know the file extension here. So to do this, I'm gonna have to right click and open in the terminal, which will open a terminal. There we go. And then I'm going to run pwd so I can get the full location, which is this whole thing. So I'm gonna copy that. This is the location of where this is. It's in home, Nash, desktop, and evidence. Then now I'm going to paste this right there. Then I'm gonna propose I have a slash and star. The reason it's like this is because the disk images that I have, I actually split it into 6 different files. So I'm gonna have it like so. And what type of a disk image is this? It's a full disk. It's not a partition. A partition, remember, it happens when you take a disk and we divide it into different parts. For instance, what I've done with my hard drive, I've got multiple operating systems. The reason I'm able to do that is because I've got my hard drive partitioned into different sectors. However, in this case, I do not have it divided into different sectors. I just have one single disk. This is one memory card out of the camera. And then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And then what it does now is it imports literally all those split images. And then I'm going to click on next. And then here, notice that it has performed its own analysis, and it has detected that the partition is a FAT16 partition. So I'm going to change this file system type to an FAT16 just so it really matches this. And then I'm going to click on add. Perfect. Now we're done. Now we're going to click on OK. And then here we go. Here's our FAT16. This is what I'm going to select. And then I'm going to perform my analysis. When it comes to the analysis now, the analysis, there's like these different types. I want to go over to the file analysis. I want to read what's inside this file system. One thing I know is I can actually Google which folder is the pictures of a Canon Canon camera stored like so. Okay, once we have it like so, we'll search, and we're told that it's in the DCIM folder. So I'm gonna keep this in mind. And I notice there's a folder called DCIM there. I'm gonna select that one, and then we actually have the 100 Canon and another folder there. So I'm gonna go into the 100 Canon, and then I actually find some pictures in here, and these pictures are highlighted in red. This is due to the fact that some of them are actually deleted files. Okay. So if we take a look at this first file, this is a deleted file. But this file has already been damaged. There's not much I can do. So this one is more of like a lost cause. There's not much I can do to this file. Let's check the second one. If you try to read the contents of that one is damaged as well. And the other one is also damaged. That's a whole lot of damaged files. Okay, there we go. We found one of the files. File number 7. File number 9 works well. And file 11 and 12, 16, 17, and so on and so forth. These are pretty much all the files all the way through to 51. These are the files that have been retrieved from this drive. So if we go back to the C, remember this is where we were. We went into the CIM and we found the 100 Canon folder. What about this one as well? Maybe there's something interesting in there. We just have this file. Okay, that's nothing interesting. Okay, so we found nothing interesting there. So pretty much the files that we actually analyzing are these files. So if you need these files, if you need to download these files to memory, let's say the 50 there, I can just export this. And what it will do is, it will bring it here. And now the file has been downloaded for me to actually look at there. Perfect. And that is how it is done with Autopsy. So all I have to do is pretty much download all the files that I have there and that will be good. Okay. Alright, perfect. And that is Autopsy. It pretty much automates literally everything. Right now I've only got the deleted files open like so. This is one of the deleted files. You'll actually notice with this file there's something quite interesting in particular. It is all mixed up. The file was nearly damaged. Just alongside with the other pictures. Okay, these ones seem fine. Okay, the 9 and the others. Okay, those are fine. But yeah, ideally that is how it's done. The keyword search option here is if you perhaps know the name of the file that is in there, you can actually search for it by means of the string there. And then the file type, this is if you know the file extension per se. For instance, if it is a JPEG file, a TXT file, or whatever type of a file it is. And then here, this is just for you to read the details of the image that we have just mounted now. As you can see, this is from the Canon DC camera. And the OEM is a power shot or something. It's just the details on the camera anyways. But yeah, that's the idea. If you would like to read some of the metadata, this is for a specific file. If you want to read the metadata, you can do this. The data unit and everything else, that is it. And that is it on Autopsy. That is how we perform the analysis there. Most of the work, of course, happens when you're actually going through the file, where you might have to draft up some sort of a timeline to say this happened, this happened, this happened, and this happened. And this is where we're actually looking at these dates and times here, returned, accessed, and created. This is where most of those come into play. But nonetheless, that is most of the job done. So you can, of course, download these files that I have gone through and try working around with Autopsy. And then we'll see your submissions for this week's assignment. See you guys.